Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to talk about how I found my dog Sika. I thought I would share this story Valentine week because it's such a special story for me. And actually the last couple of weeks I've been reflecting on how God works in my life, and this is another example of how God works in my life. So with that said, stay tuned and I'm going to tell you the story of how I came to find my next dog Sika, who is going to Alaska with me. So I've always talked about that I was going to adopt a dog, and I really considered it. When my Muffin passed away, I felt really lonely. I felt crushed. I felt a lot of grief. And I felt like I needed another dog. And I knew that I wanted a larger dog because I was going to need a dog that could hike with me, a dog that had short hair was a big thing because I travel, and I had a lot of problems with my dog who had long hair and I was never brushing her. I needed a dog that didn't look dirty when she was on the road, and that's why I picked a black dog. I needed a dog that was loving but at the same time was protective and has a good loud bark, because that's really what I want. I want her to let me know when people are on my property or when somebody is walking around my camper or something like that. As you know, in the past, I've had issues with that. So that was important to me, have a dog like that. And I narrowed it down to a black Labrador because this is how God works in my life. Before I got my surgery, my neighbor had her grandson move in with her, and they had a black lab. They had just got a black lab. The dog was probably about the same age as Sika is now, about 7 months. When they got the dog, I was so scared because I said, oh my gosh, this dog is going to get under the fence. He's going to eat my chickens because my chickens forage. And sometimes my chickens go out in the street under the fence and they go out there. So I thought this is going to be a hassle. But with all that said, they don't have a fence like I do. It's like the dog could get out, and the dog wasn't raised there. And it ended up that the dog was so well tamed. He never left that whole area. He never left. They would leave the garage door open for him. The dog would be loose in the garage. Sometimes he'd be in the kennel, but most of the time he'd be loose. And he'd never come under my fence. He'd never come after my chickens. And he was a dog that stayed home and was really a good dog. And I fell in love with this dog. It was a black Labrador. And I thought to myself, this is the kind of dog that I want. I want a dog like this, who was obedient and just fell in love with the dog. And I knew that that was the kind of dog I needed for travel. A dog with, no maintenance, basically, is what I want, a dog with no maintenance. And I didn't know that the Labrador was such a water dog. So that was only a plus for me later on because I do love the water a lot. So I decided that that's probably the dog that I was going to get because God put that in my heart. So after Muffin passed away, Missy and I got really close because we were missing Muffin. And for some reason, I decided I'm going to go look online. I'm not going to go to any adoption places, shelters, or anything. I'm going to look online for a puppy because I figured I want a puppy because I had a lot of dogs in the past that I've brought into my life that were older. And then my dog before Muffin was my little Yorkie, Benji. I had him for 15 years. And then I said, this is my last time really to get a puppy. Later in my future, I'll probably end up getting an older dog, but this is I really want to train this dog for hiking and stuff. I don't want a dog with issues. That's the whole thing. You say, I don't want this, and the universe, God is going to give you this. So I ended up going online and looking for dogs and all the shelters around me, and they really didn't have any puppies, and I wanted a puppy. The only puppies that I was able to get were it was I forgot the name of it. It's like a black mouth. Put the name of the breed here if I remember, if I can find it. I think it was a curd mouth or something like that it's called. Okay, so those puppies were available, but I just thought, reading upon the breed, I just thought that breed is going to be too intense for me, too much energy for me. And I've never gotten rid of a dog in my life, except for my uncle's dog, Sasha, because I couldn't take care of her anymore. And I had to give her away because traveling with her was really difficult. She was not raised as a travel dog, and she gave me a lot of problems traveling. And then I was traveling and I could not take care of her anymore. So I gave her to somebody, an older person who was looking for a good dog. That's the story of how I went, looking, and I couldn't find anything in the shelters around me, which saved me a lot of gas mileage going out looking and looking and looking. And I did that because I knew when I walked into a shelter, I was going to fall in love with a dog, and I didn't want to compromise what God had put in my heart. If God had put this kind of dog in my heart, this kind of breed in my heart, I didn't want to go to a shelter and then find a long-haired dog that I fell in love with and wanted. Okay, so that was the whole reason that I did that. So I was trying to be obedient and saying, okay, if God put this kind of dog in my heart, this is what he wants me to have. So since I didn't go that, I thought, okay, let me go to Craigslist and look around. So I went into Craigslist and I started looking around. Found this breeder that was, my gosh, I was like, that's like only 40 minutes for me. How can I find this breeder that's only 40 minutes to me? I said, that has to be God. So it's a woman, and I contacted her, and she said, oh, she still have the puppy. And I said, well, can I come and get it on Saturday? And she said, yeah, if it's still available. I said, okay. So it ended up that was a week that the carport people were here, and they were delayed a day. Right after, on that Saturday when they left, I went to the house. We drove to Ocala, near Ocala, to find the dog. It was 40 minutes away. And I was under the impression that this was a woman who had a dog. I mean, I didn't ask her, but it looked to me. I've never dealt with a puppy mill in my life. Okay, so I just assumed that this was a woman who was selling these dogs from her own dogs. So she gave me the address for the house, and I drove over there. And then finally, when I got there, I couldn't find the address, and I texted her, and then she started giving me other instructions. And I thought, okay, this is weird. So this road that she told me to get on, and was a really lonely road. There were like a lot of mobile homes there, and it was all wooded, and it just went all the way. And I was in the van, and I was by myself, and I did not bring my pew with me because I didn't know I was going to need it. I thought I was just going to a woman's house. Okay, so I'm driving, and then I'm like, okay, this is really suspicious. And then I get to a dead end, and there's no way that I can go. It's in the woods, and there's a dead end. And then I have to make a left turn there, and there's more trees, and everything is like closed off, and there's just this one dirt road, and there's no way for me to turn around. I have to go down that road. There's a way to turn around there. And I was looking, okay, now when I go to the end, that's when I see a little camper. It's like an RV. In the middle, where you make that turn, you go one side, you come around. In the middle, there's this trailer, small little camper trailer. But around the camper trailer, away from the road, are these kennels made out of wood. And when I was driving past, I said, I'm gonna take off, because it was pretty junky there. I mean, it was pretty junky. It was pretty scary. And here, a woman by myself, and nobody knew that I was going there. I did not tell anybody, because I thought I was going to a woman's house. And obviously, I feel like I was deceived, right? This was not going to be a woman's house. This is something else. That's what I felt in my spirit. This was something else. This was a deception. So I'm driving, all of a sudden I see this beautiful blonde colored labrador in one of the kennels. They're all wooden made kennels. I mean, they're pretty cheap looking place. And the man comes out from the camper to see who I am. So I said to him, is this where you sell the dogs? He said, oh yeah, she just texted me. So this woman was luring people to this puppy mill breeder. And this guy was like, big guy, pretty scary looking. And I'm like, do you have dogs here? He's like, yes. And he's like, come and I'll show you. So I parked my car, but I parked my car facing, in case I had to run out, get in my car and go. I parked the car facing already the road. I had made that turn, and I knew I could go. So if I could get to the car. So I did have my mace with me that was in the car. So I did bring back, did put that with me. And then I walked with this guy. We were by ourselves, and he brings me into like all of this wood type kennel stuff. And it smelled so bad in there. I never smelled anything smell so bad in my life. And there's all these big type of dogs in there. And they all look like they look like aggressive dogs. Like you don't see like soft, cuddly puppy type of dogs. Then all of a sudden he brings me to the back, and then he has like these bowling alleys, and there were like 4 bowling alleys. And in these bowling alleys, he had like 5 to 6 puppies inside each of the bowling alleys, and they were all in there according to their age. So he had 8 weeks, he had 10 weeks, and he didn't have a lot of girls. He had Sika was in an alley with the 10-week puppies, and she was in there with all the boys. She was the only girl in that alley. And then he also had an 8-month-old black lab girl that she had a like skin infection. So he said, you can have her in the next couple of days, but I have to cure her skin infection first. And I really didn't like that. I didn't really go for that. I actually went there to see that this woman also, she had showed me that she had also a chocolate Labrador. And I was interested to go to her, not just because she had the black, but because she also had the chocolate lab. And I had never seen a chocolate lab before. And I was really inspired to go see the lab. The chocolate lab was $550, and the black lab was $350. So I was prepared to buy the chocolate lab if I wanted to. And that's only because I thought the chocolate lab would be better for me if I did videos. It would come across better on camera than a dark dog. I do know that a dark dog in a camper is a problem for filming. But this is not really about YouTube. This is really about my life and what God put in my heart. I go in there and I'm like, so many puppies. I'm like, look, I want a girl and I want one of the smallest girls that you have. So he said, let me show you what the father looks like. So he takes me over and shows me the father. Sika's father is a chocolate lab. That's why she has a sister there. But the chocolate lab girl that was there, the reason I didn't pick her was because she was way bigger than Sika, at the same age as Sika. So she was taking after her father, who was going to be a bigger type of lab. And I said to him, look, give me the one that you think is going to be the smallest size lab here, because I have a small camper and I want one that doesn't get too big. I know they get big. So he picked Sika out and he picked out another one. The other one was chubbier than Sika. It looked more like an English type of lab, even though he said it was an American lab. And then there was Sika. And then he brought the two puppies out, and they smelled really bad, by the way. And he put them out near my car on the floor. It's mostly all wooded there, and it was all mostly all dirt. And he said, you pick the one that you want. So I looked at them, and Sika would go, and she was really interested in, she would smell a rock, she would smell the grass, she would just start smelling everything and looking at everything and exploring. And the other little one that he took out that was with her, that I was supposed to choose from, that one only went after Sika. He was just wanting to play with Sika. He wasn't interested in exploring, wasn't interested in anything. He was just after Sika. And I said to myself, oh, this is it. I want Sika, because Sika looks like she likes to explore, and she's smelling and she's doing the dog thing. And that's what I want when she goes out. I don't want her to be bored. So I said, I'll take that one. So I knew she was smaller than the other one also. And she was just slimmer than the other one. So obviously her father is a slim Labrador, but the mother is smaller and black lab. So I picked her and I paid him. He gave me all this paperwork. And then he started telling, as he's doing my paperwork, he's starting to tell me the story about how the dog was returned from this other woman who had picked up the dog, and the dog was vomiting. And he's telling me the story, but he's not really telling me that it's her, but he's telling me the story of a return. And I just didn't, it just kind of, I'm like, okay, he's just making conversation. I said to him, oh, the lady brought the dog back? He said, yes, she brought the dog back after the vet said that the dog had like gastric problems or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, oh, so I could return the dog if the dog has a problem. He says, yeah, you need to go to a vet, and the vet is going to tell you if the dog has a problem. You can bring it back and get another one, or I can give you your money back. I said, okay, great. That works for me. So he gave me all my paperwork. The dog was registered. It was okay through the vet, had her shots. I looked at all the paperwork, and I brought the dog home. And then from there, you can see what happened in my video. She threw up on the way home. He gave me a whole bunch of puppy chow that he was giving her, the dry kibble puppy chow. And I gave her that for the first couple of days. And every time I pick her up, she would get these hiccups and she would make these gurgling noises. And she threw up a couple of times. And I knew that the food that she was on was going to be a problem. I ended up having to put her on a BARF diet. If you know what that is, it's a raw food diet. And I will do a video on that, because I've learned so much about raw food and dogs. I had my other dog Muffin on raw food, but never the way that I'm doing it for Sika now. So stay tuned for that video. Subscribe to the channel so you can watch that video. So when I bring her home, I give her the puppy chow, and then I notice she's having this problem. And then it started occurring to me that this dog is vomiting, and this dog is probably the dog that was returned. And that was coming up in my mind. So I decided to change her. I gave her the raw food diet, and she did really well with that. She has no problem with that. She doesn't get the hiccups. She doesn't get anything. And I'll talk more about that when we talk about the diet. Over time, you know, she's doing really well. She's doing out, but she has a lot of anxiety issues. And I'm wondering, why does this dog have anxiety issues? Because supposedly she just came from this place. She shouldn't have the issues. So then I started reading some books about behaviors and stuff like that. And she has these major anxiety issues that I'm trying to overcome. And I realized that I think what happened was that she was the dog that he was telling me. He was trying to tell me in a kind of a way without really telling me. Because I think he was afraid that if he told me this was a dog that was returned, obviously I'm going to say I don't want the dog, right? Because now somebody took a dog, could have been there for 2 weeks. Who knows the way they treated the dog? And now you're going to give me a dog with a problem. That's basically like I might as well go to the shelter and get a dog because I don't know how it was treated, right? Sika has issues with biting. She has lots of issues with biting, and she's not aggressive, but she kind of goes into defensive mode where she goes into this biting, or she's very affectionate. She doesn't know how to be affectionate. And I'm teaching her that every time she licks me, I celebrate it. Every time she cuddles with me, I celebrate it. But with her, it's the mouthing issue. She'll come and she'll grab my arm. For her, that's the way that you love. I'm thinking this woman kept the dog for 2 weeks at least, because a vet usually doesn't give you an appointment right away. If anything, she probably had it for a week at the most. So if she knew she wasn't going to keep this dog, or she wasn't sure about the dog, she was probably not treating the dog very well. I don't know people who return puppies like that. For me, I mean, I'm not the kind of person to return. And I could have returned her. But for me, I'm like, God chose. By the way, just so you know, on that day, I knew that God was sending me to this woman because I did get a special breadcrumb message from God that morning. And I knew that that was a dog for me, that I had to go there and get that. And when I was picking the dog, and I was listening to him tell me the story about the return, I didn't ask him either, because I kind of figured it could be the dog. But in my spirit, God was telling me to get this dog. Like I needed to take this dog out of there. This dog needed to be, I just felt like I had to save this dog from this man, from this place, from everything that she was going through. I felt like she had so much possibility. I saw so much possibility in her. She was out there exploring, and I was like, I can't leave this dog here. I mean, I just cannot leave this dog here. I know she's going to have a better life. And that was what I did. I didn't even ask him. But then over time now, I'm seeing all the issues that I'm having with her, where she has all of this anxiety. And I'm thinking she was probably with this woman, and this woman was not very nice to her. And she probably kept her locked up. And she probably didn't give her the attention and the love that she needed. And for a puppy, that's traumatic. Once you take her away from her family, and now you're taking her into a place where you're keeping her in a kennel all day, and you're not taking care of her, you don't even love her, or you're just giving her junk all day long. This is what I'm going through now with her, is not just the training, is also getting her out of these behavioral issues that she has. She has a lot of fear. She has a lot of anxiety, and she's a good dog. She's a really good dog, but I've had to protect myself several times because of, you know, she will be playing, and she doesn't, and I know it's her age too, she doesn't realize that her teeth are big now, and she can chomp on me, man. She has, like, right here, you see, that was yesterday, she grabbed me, and she went to grab my sleeve actually, but she's big, and she grabs my sleeve and she bites me, and I end up bleeding. I've been going through a lot of issues with her, but I love her very much, and I am dedicated and focused on treating her well and getting her if I need a trainer, I will go that route. Trust me, I'm not letting this dog go, because I know that what's going to happen is if I let her go, she's going to go to a shelter. She's not going to make it, or people are going to return her because she is a good dog, or she is just going to be so scared. It's just not going to be good for her. So I am definitely working on her here at home, and I will definitely get a trainer for the things that I can't handle for myself. Another issue that I wanted a larger dog, not just for hiking and traveling with a larger dog, was also because I have a pet door over here on my porch for my cat. And I didn't want a dog that can get through there. Like I couldn't get a Yorkie. I couldn't get like a little poodle. I couldn't get like a small little dog that's the size of my cat. Like I couldn't get that because the dog would fit through the hole. Also didn't want a dog that I could groom, because I've been down that road with my Yorkie that I had to bring her to the groomer, bring him to the groomer all the time and get him groomed. So that was something I didn't want. With Muffin, I had the same issues with knots and not brushing her when I was traveling. It's a lot of work. And also, dogs with a lot of hair in a small camper, man, you don't realize how much I vacuum per day in there. And that's because I have the cat, and I have the dog. So because I have the cat, then decided I'm going to get a dog that I know she sheds, but it's a different type of shedding. It's not that flaky long hair shedding that's like all over the place. It's more of a small little bristle type of shedding that sheds right in the seat or on the floor, or it gets on your clothes, but it's really not noticeable. So her shedding is not something that I'm really worried about this dog. Mostly Missy's type of hair, which is my cat. Her hair is the kind of hair that I dislike, because it gets in my camper, it gets on the kitchen, and gets all over the place. So it's something that I don't like. Another reason why I picked the black Labrador is because, number one, here on the homestead, my dog blends into the night. So if I had a problem with somebody and I had to release my dog that is barking at somebody, that dog is black. And here at night, you are not going to see that dog. I actually have to take Sika out during the night with a leash, because if she gets away from me, I'm not going to find her. She just blends into the night. And I realized that when I go camping, the same thing, she's going to have to be on a leash because she blends into the night. And I'm working on the calm command, but she's still young, so she gets off focus when she'll see something and she'll go. But the way that I'm fixing that is with hot dogs. She loves turkey hot dogs, and I buy the ones without the nitrates, and I cook it up for her, and I cut them into pieces, and then I always have them with me when we're going outside, and then I call her, and trust me, she comes when I give her a little piece of hot dog. She really does that. The Labrador supposedly is a dog that is trainable, that gets along well with many people, other than the issues that I'm having, particularly with her, that I'm trying to resolve. But they're also a dog that if I had to go to an RV park here in Florida, especially because it's hard to find boondocking places in Florida, but if I had to go to an RV park in Florida, they'll ask you, what kind of dog do you have? And I'll say, I have a Labrador. And a lot of times they will allow it, because they will allow the bigger dogs that they allow are like retrievers. They allow the Labradors, German Shepherds. I don't know. Some parks might not let you. They don't really like the big kind of dogs, but certain breeds they do allow. And that's why I wanted a big dog in a breed that is known for being friendly with everybody. I picked a female instead of a boy dog is number one. Boy dogs are way bigger than the girl dogs. So that's why I wanted a smaller Labrador. I wanted the girl. Number two, the reason I have a girl dog is because I used to have a boy dog before my dog Muffin. I had a Yorkie who lived till he was 15. He wasn't fixed until later in life when they noticed that his glands were swelling. So I had him fixed, but he wasn't fixed when he was young, and then he would want to mark behind my sofa, my draperies, and he'd lift his leg up, or you're walking and they're always lifting their leg up. And I was like, no, I don't want a boy anymore. I want the girls. Girls supposedly are way calmer than the boys, and that's what I wanted. So for right now, I plan to spay Sika in the future, but she is 7 months old. And when I spayed Muffin was 7 months old. And right now, I have a holistic vet that I bring Sika to, and she said not to spay Sika until she's had her first menstruation, because if you spay them before then, they will be incontinent when they're older. And that was the case for Muffin. Muffin would sleep and she'd just fall asleep and she'd be incontinent. She'll pee on herself. And I learned that from my vet. This is what she told me. So this is why Muffin was incontinent, because she was spayed pretty much around 7 months old, which is something that I don't want to do with Sika at this point. So eventually, when Sika goes into her first heat menstruation cycle, I will have to put pads on her for the first time that she has that. And then I will get her spayed after that. So I've already looked online to see what are the things that I can do to remedy the problem so she doesn't get the house dirty or the camper dirty or whatever it is when it's time for that. I think it'll happen between 10 months and 12 is the normal that I've seen people talk about the Labradors online for when they go into heat. So it's probably around 10 months, 10 to 11 months where she'll go in heat. So that will be just perfect because it'll be around summertime, and then she'll be indoors, and I'll be able to watch her and make sure that she doesn't hurt herself when she gets her surgery. Also, that I did not want to adopt a dog is because I also have a cat here, and Sika, having a puppy growing up with the cat has been great. And a lot of shelters, if you tell them you have a cat, they're going to make you come all the way back with your cat to see if they get along. And I just did not want to have to do that, because a lot of times you don't know. If you have a cat in a kennel and the dog is sniffing it, okay. But I didn't want to put Missy through that with a whole bunch of dogs. So that's why I decided also to get a puppy so I can raise her. Now, as far as Sika is concerned with the chickens, I do have a lot of problems with that. Sika wants to chase the chickens. I've had to change a lot of things here with the chickens because of Sika. Number one, they are not allowed to forage anymore in the morning because Sika and I go out and do stuff in the morning at Sika's time. And then I let the chickens out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're only out from 3 to 5:30. And at that time, my porch is closed and Sika does not go out. If Sika stands in front of the porch to want to go out because she has to go potty, I have to use a leash, and I have to bring her out with a leash because she will chase the chickens. And am I teaching her to not chase the chickens? Yes. But her instinct every single time when she sees a chicken is she just like looks and she wants to go for it. I don't know at this point if she would take a bite out of my chickens. I'm not ready for that to happen. So for now, unless I know that she's 100% okay with the chicken, I do not plan on her interacting with the chickens at all. A lot of times when I go out to the coop in the morning to feed the chickens, Sika comes with me, and I tell Sika to stay. She's got to stay around the coop, and I go inside the coop, but she tries to scare the chickens while they're in the coop. And I know that, I don't know if it's because she's young, so for at least until she's 1 year old, I think she's not going to settle with the chickens until then. And for now, I just have to be really careful that she doesn't kill the chickens. And with Missy, she has a lot of anxiety issues. She gets very excited with Missy every single time. She wants to play with Missy like she played with her puppy dogs in the alley that, you know, was in the kennel. She doesn't leave Missy alone sometimes. And Missy's an older cat. Missy's already 10 years old, I think she is, going to be 11 this year. Missy will play and likes to play with her. As a matter of fact, Missy has lost a lot of weight because she plays with Sika. But Sika doesn't know how to stop. And that is another thing that I'm also training her, is to try to leave Missy alone sometimes, because sometimes she just keeps going and going and going. She drives Missy crazy, and Missy has to run into the house and hide because Sika will not leave her alone. She just wants to walk around inside, but Sika just wants to chase her. This is my story. I wanted you to know because I've always said that I was going to adopt a dog, but this is what God wanted for me. And I think I did a good job picking the right dog for me. I just feel that I wasn't as prepared for a large dog as I was, because my last 2 dogs were toy dogs. I know another thing that also inspired me to get a larger dog was Sober. If you remember my past videos, when I traveled in my camper with my son, and I had a friend at the time, he had a dog named Sober, and I just fell in love with her. She had like the most wonderful, she was a big dog, but she was just such a good dog, and I always felt safe and well with this dog around. And I thought, man, I think I really want to get a big dog, but not too big, not so big like her. So that's my story. I hope you enjoyed the story, and now you know the story of Sika. So now you know how she came into my life, and all the things that I'm going through here has not been easy, dealing with her and her issues that she's had, because I know that she's had some issues from this person. So I hope that in the future, if you do buy a dog or bring a dog home, you give the dog a chance. Buy a dog or get a dog knowing that if you are committed to helping this dog, because once the dog is returned, most likely the dog is going to end up in some kind of a pound, because he's going to have so much trauma, and he's just going to end up being a dog that is going to end up not being adopted. If you're going to get a dog, please make sure that you pick the right dog. I just want to talk about some of the books that I have enjoyed, that I have borrowed from my library. This one I'm reading now. This one is not too bad. It's a little bit more scientific than I wanted, but I'm going through it. This book I really enjoyed a lot. Actually, this is a book, if you are thinking or you're not sure of the breed of dog that you want, this is a great book to read, because he goes through all of the breeds. My dog is actually a sporting dog. They have the working dogs, the sporting dogs, the hunting dogs, all of those. He goes through all of the dogs here. And there's so many breeds in here of dogs that I've never heard about. You can research those dogs. So this is a very good book. And I just wanted you to know that the other kind of breed that I was also looking into was the Wayne Mariner, I think it was called. There was a beautiful gray puppy, but I had to drive like 3 hours south to go get the dog, and she wanted $1,500. So I'm like, no, I'm not paying $1,500 for a Wayne Mariner. And the other one was locally about an hour away, was a beagle. That was another dog that I was considering. I didn't think that was the kind of dog that I wanted for hiking in the future. And then the other one too was an Irish setter, was another dog that I was thinking about, but I couldn't find breeders around here. And then after I got Sika, I fell in love with another breed that I had never heard about, and that's the Viskla. It's a Hungarian dog, and oh my gosh, I love this dog. But reading this book, I realized how high energy that dog is, because I even thought, man, if I after Missy's not here, maybe I'll get another dog, and then when Sika will have company, and I would get a Viskla. So I'm not sure if I would get that, but that's a dog that I really loved as well. So, and here's another book that I loved a lot, that was suggested to me in the comments. I've talked about it in the past. It's called Forever Dog. Please read this book if you're giving your dog kibble and cheap foods, so that you can learn more about foods and diet. And it's just a really great book, chock full of information. And then here's another book that I read from the library, 2 more books, and these are novels, and I really enjoyed this one very much, and then this other one I also enjoyed it as well. These are books that I've been reading, and I've been enjoying this winter reading books and just spending time with my dog and being here on the property. That's going to be my video for today. I hope you enjoyed knowing the story of why I got Sika and how she came into my life. If you like the story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. God bless you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.